From the on-the-water studios of KWRGM TV, located on the sunny Gulf Coast of Florida, it's As Good as Live, with hosts Kristen Cruz and Joanne Owens, featuring Tom Murphy on camera and editing. Today's topic, short sales. Hello, I'm Joanne.
And I'm Kristen. Welcome to our program. We've got a studio audience with us today, and I know that we're also going to have folks calling in with some questions.
Joining us in studio is Ron Pepka, the #1 producing agent in 2008 in all of Manatee County, and he's a real expert in short sales. Tell us, Ron, how long have you been doing short sales?
I've been doing about 2.5 years now.
2.5 years? Wow.
While other brokerage firms and agents tend to shy away from this type of business, why is this short sale an integral part of your business?
Well, let's face it, Kristen. The more signs you have in the ground, the more buyer calls you're going to get. The more buyer calls you're going to get, the more transactions that you're going to close. Besides that, I love the challenge.
Great.
How do you find these clients, Ron? Where do they come from, and how do you determine that they really are a candidate for a short sale?
Well, most of our clients are referrals. We've had some success closing short sales, so those people have told other people, and the phone's ringing off the hook. Determining a short sale opportunity is it's actually very easy. You just go on a normal listing appointment, and you come to find out that the seller owes more than the house is worth, and they don't have that money to come to closing to complete the transaction. So we know that it is a short sale at that point.
Okay. All right. What documents do you gather, and how often do you need to update them?
We get the past 3 bank account statements from the checking and the savings account from all borrowers. We get the W-2s for the past 2 years. We get the tax returns for the past 2 years. We get a hardship letter, and we get a financial statement.
Okay. When do you send these documents to the bank, and are there any additions that you would add to that package?
When we initially take the listing, we send the documents. And then when we get a consummated contract between the buyer and the seller, we add documents. And the documents that we add are a BPO. We also add a financial breakdown to what the bank will be receiving in return, a HUD Form 1, the current market information, and we also add all the supporting comparables to the BPO.
So you do the BPO.
Yes.
You have a title company prepare the HUD 1.
That's correct.
Does she prepare preliminary title work as well?
Not normally, no.
Okay. All right. Great.
Okay, we've got a caller on the line. Hello, caller. Thanks for calling KWRGM. What's your question?
My question is when and how do you send the package to the bank? By fax, courier, or mail? And how do you find out who you should be speaking to?
Okay, let me make sure everybody heard that question. When and how do you send the package to the bank? By fax, courier, or mail? And how do you find out who you should be speaking to?
Well, we find out who we're supposed to be speaking to when we take the listing. We get a copy of their mortgage statement. We call that mortgage company and ask for their loss mitigation department. And as I said before, when we take the listing, we send a partial package in so they can get the process started. And then when we get the contract between the buyer and the seller, then we send the full package in. And
Great.
we do send, I'm sorry, Kristen, we do send it in by fax.
By fax, very good.
So it's very important to get original documentation from all the parties involved, so it's very legible when it gets to the lender.
Okay.
Important. Okay. And here's another caller. Go ahead, caller, with your question.
Hi, yes. How often do you call the banks for updates, and do you encourage the seller to take the collection calls, or do you tell them to ignore them?
Good question.
Absolutely. We call the bank on average about once every 4 days. And as far as the collection calls, we have a special form in our short sale package. It says, please do not contact me by phone. So we do have our sellers endorse this. We do send it in with the initial package. So our sellers shouldn't be getting any calls from any collection agencies.
Very good.
Great, thank you.
Thank you, caller.
Thank
Great
you.
question.
I've got a question, Ron. What percentage of your short sale listings actually close?
We're closing 75% of all the listings that we take.
What's the average?
I've heard across the nation it's 10%.
Okay, awesome. Then you're doing a really good job. That's terrific.
Okay, I think we have another caller. seller. Please go ahead with your question.
So the seller has signed off on the offer. It's now a contract. You send it to the bank along with your BPO. What do you do when the lender's person calls you to get into the property to do their PCO?
Okay, so you have a signed offer, a contract.
Yes.
You've sent the BPO. Okay, so what do you do when the lender calls you to get their person in to do a BPO?
Well, Christian, you never let the agent go to the property by themselves. You need to make sure that you meet the agent there. And when you get there, you want to get in dialogue with that agent about the seller's hardship. Okay? You also ask them if you can assist in completing their assignment. And we do that by providing them our BPO, a copy of the contract, and the supporting comparables.
So really, that agent who's doing that BPO, you really enlist them as part of your team.
Absolutely.
Great, thanks. What if their BPO comes in for more than yours did? Do you fight it?
Well, Kristen, it's okay if it comes in a little bit more than mine did. All right, but if it comes in substantially more and we have a chance that the short sale will be declined, we definitely fight it. We try and get the negotiator to accept our value, or at the bare minimum, send another agent out to do a second BPO and get a second opinion.
Okay.
Great.
We had an email earlier, Ron, and they're asking if it's true that with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, they won't ask us to reduce our commissions like some other investors. Is that true?
It's my understanding that there is a law that just got passed recently that if it's a Freddie Mac or Fannie Mae loan, that they cannot reduce your commission below 6%. So if you have taken a listing that's at not 7%, it's at 6%, they cannot ask you to lower your commission.
Okay. All right.
Wow. Have you ever asked a bank for investor information so you can go directly to that investor that holds that loan?
No, I haven't had that opportunity.
Okay. Okay. Just skipping back a bit to the contract part, what contract do you want filled out by the buyer's agents? What are you asking for?
We're asking for a FAR 9 with an as-is with right to inspect addendum. And on that as-is with right to inspect addendum, we want at least a $5,000 repair limit.
Okay. What's the reason? I see a lot of people using the, as-is and not using the FAR 9 with the as-is addendum. What's your reasoning for using the FAR 9?
Well, it does take usually about 30 to 60 days to get a short sale approved.
Mm-hmm.
And during that time, a lot of times the buyers can have buyer's remorse. And the seller has taken it off the market and they're one step closer to foreclosure. We want to write a closed-end contract. The regular as-is with right to inspect gives the buyer the opportunity to cancel the contract after we've already got the approval from the bank. And we don't want that to happen. We want a committed buyer that's going to commit to follow through with their purchase.
Okay, that's great.
Do we have any questions from the audience? Yes, sir.
When you are on short sale and you don't have any contract, if the bank decides to foreclose, what's happening with your listing?
You will no longer have a listing if the bank decides to foreclose,
You don't have any?
because you signed the listing agreement with the seller who owned the property. Now there's a new owner who is the bank and you don't have a listing agreement. If you can obtain a listing agreement from the bank, then it wouldn't be a short sale anymore. It would evolve to an REO, real estate owned.
Thank you.
Great.
What do you do in circumstances where you have multiple mortgages? A first and a second or a home equity line of credit? How do you assist the seller or negotiate with the banks, with the second mortgage holder, to keep them satisfied?
Well, it's been my experience that the second mortgage holders, they're generally out of position. So in a foreclosure sale, they're going to get 0. But the least that they'll normally accept, through my experience, is 10%. So I do the initial HUD with them receiving the 10%. And should the first mortgage not pay the second mortgage the 10%, I have the seller make up for it, just to make sure that it goes through.
So would the seller sign a promissory note?
Usually they borrow it from grandma, if they have to. They do what they have to do to make sure it goes away.
Have you ever found that the second mortgage was willing to accept a promissory note?
No, I haven't. No, it's pretty much cut and dry. They want 10%, at least 10%.
Okay.
Do you prepare the client that this could happen when they do have a second mortgage?
Absolutely. Our short sale consultations are generally to an hour and a half. And we go into great detail about the possibilities about what can happen.
Any other questions?
Well, that's about all the time we have today. I'm really grateful that you're here, and Kristen and I look forward to speaking to you once again. I know there's much more information on short sales that we'll cover at another time.
Well, a big thanks to our callers and our audience. See you next time on As Good as Live at KWRGM TV. Make it an amazing day.
The content of this program is for information only. The participants are not attorneys, accountants, or tax consultants. Please contact these people for legal or tax questions.